Well, we are not closed down like our federal government, but I'm going to say that everybody, as we know, everybody is impacted. And so we're still here. We have been through a lot, as I was just sharing with our team here. We've been through COVID. Now we're coming to you live uh, during a government shutdown. Well, I'm Denise Rolark Barnes, publisher of the Washington Informer. And today we're going to host our roundtable with our reporters who are going to examine how the federal government shutdown is affecting our community, business, employment, personal finances, and where are the resources? Where can people go to get help? This is an important show to us, and we certainly are going to do our best to make sure that not only here on WIN TV, but in the Washington Informer, on our social media platforms, and our newsletters, that we continue to talk about this, but more importantly, to provide our viewers and supporters who support us. Let me say thank you to you all who support us. But to provide you with the information that you need to get through this moment in time. And please believe me, I hope it is a moment in time and not moments in time, so that we can sustain ourselves, remain healthy, and actually, I have to say, sustain ourselves. When I was coming across town yesterday, and I drove past the National Stadium and saw those long, long lines of people out there going to see Chris Brown. And I can't imagine how much those tickets were. But hopefully, I guess those folks bought the tickets before the shutdown happened. And I really hope they had a good time, because that's what we need right now. We're talking about boots on the ground and dancing and all that. We still need to celebrate life. But at any rate, there's a government shutdown. Maybe Chris Brown left y'all with a few dollars. Maybe he said for every person that comes in can walk out with $10 rebate on those tickets. I don't know if that happened. But at any rate, let me move on. We are really thrilled to have with us our reporters who've been covering the district throughout this last, I guess it's, what is it, day 8 of 10? Is it day 10?
Today is 9.
Day 9 of the government shutdown. So we're going to have with us Sam P.K. Collins, as you all know, who covers DC politics and education, James Wright, who covers business, Richard Elliott, who covers Prince George's County, and Jada Ingleton, who is our digital content editor, but also a wonderful reporter who's been out there on the street as well, talking to folks about issues that are impacting our community. So as I said, the shutdown of the federal government is now in its 9th day. And we know that it's impacting residents throughout the DMV, whether you're a federal worker or not. And but anyway, before we start that discussion, I just want to remind you all to pick up a copy of this week's Washington Informer newspaper, where, as I said, I've said it and I'm going to continue to say it, we are covering the stories that are impacting our community. Sam did a story on early childhood educators who are organizers and youth respond to federal government shutdown. James Wright, the federal furloughed workers, why they're being encouraged to consider entrepreneurship. Folks, if it happened today, and you know there was a shutdown in the last Trump administration, no doubt it's going to happen again. And we got to be prepared for that. Sam, again, local work continues in the shadow of a shuttered federal government. And then it's funny, we didn't have her on, but there's an article by Dr. Patrice Holden in this week's issue that talks about laughter, logic, and listening, 3 innovators who uplift mental health. And for those of you all who are struggling right now to try to figure out what's going to happen next, this is impacting not only your physical health, but your mental health, your spiritual health as well. So, all of that we'll be talking about over the next couple of weeks. But we want you to continue to pick up a copy of the Washington Informer. It's available throughout the city. Of course, you can go to our website at washingtoninformer.com, where you can read the articles there or read the digital edition. And we are encouraging you. Hopefully, this show will be meaningful enough to you to share on your social media channels and connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Talking about YouTube, we ask you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We ask you to follow us actually on all of our social media channels and share the information that we have out there. We are so pleased to have Booker Squared, who has been uh, doing a wonderful job at bringing more, a growing, I'll say that, the Washington Informer family. But you don't have to be a content creator or a YouTube or social media influencer to really make a difference. And because we've got to make sure that we share this information with our friends, our family members, our community folks, you name it. We want to make sure we have information that's important. So we're going to go ahead and start with what we call the pulse of our reporters who we have on hand, and then dive right into four key topics, which are local businesses and supply chains, employment and job opportunities, personal finances, bills, loans, and budgeting, and access to community resources and assistance. And I'm going to bring on James Wright because James did a story, an article we in our financial literacy issue this week. I forgot what is the name of it. James, you did. You and Richard did an article together, which I thought was really timely. You want to talk about that? Say that again. Right, right. I can't hear you though, James, for some reason.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. It's good when the mic is on. That helps.
There's certain things that just help, right? And that's what we're talking about today. It's pushing that one little button that makes the difference. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Budget
sure.
while broke. Talk about that.
Yeah, Richard and I came up with an idea about how to help people who are struggling at this particular time. And we didn't want to talk about people who are always struggling because, the Bible says the poor will always be with us. But we wanted to talk to people who are going through financial duress, whether it's losing a job due to our president's and its policies, or just losing a job because of the way the economy is going with AI and sort of things. So we came up with a list, and Richard did an excellent job in terms of listing practices and policies that people can institute in their lives in order to make their lives easier, whether it is going to particular institutions to help pay your bills, whether it's seeking rental assistance, whether it's seeking financial assistance from churches, or and then he dovetailed into investment. Even though that you are struggling, that doesn't mean that you don't invest or save your money. And so therefore, budgeting while broke is really not for people who are broke. It's really for anybody who
Mhm.
is having problems, or not even having problems, or maybe just needs some guidance in terms of finance.
Right, right. No, I think that's amazing that you all really put that together because it's a reminder that, there are times we're going through right now, but there's ways that we need to sort of have that little rainy day fund, if at all
Yes.
possible, just to make sure that we can kind of get through this time and the next time. But you've been talking to business owners, James, throughout the DMV, and tell me, what are you hearing?
Well, business owners do not like government shutdowns. And the reason they don't like government shutdowns is because it means less foot traffic to their businesses, particularly in the district, because the federal government has a lot of activity in the District of Columbia. Government shutdowns also means people are not buying their products. They're not going out to eat. And when you go out to eat, you may want to do something else, and you're not doing that something else. And so it is affecting your business. So what they're having to do is two things. Number one, they're having to scale back. I read a Bloomberg article that told me that they're not hiring as many people as in the past. I mean, within the past year, 83% of businesses have not hired anybody in the district within the last year. But also, they're offering people discounts in terms of products. Many of them, the bars are offering a special happy hour specials. They're extending those, and many businesses are doing that. But Denise, let me do this, and let me make a recommendation to your viewers, to our viewers, in terms of, if you're a federal government employee and you're having a tough time, even the business that you don't, the business that you frequent, tell them, show them your government ID. They may give you a discount. They might not give you a discount, but just ask. And you may be surprised you'll get a discount, because these businesses want your business. It's better to give the, have the discount as opposed to not having the business at all.
Are there any particular businesses, James, that you've had communications with that have actually done that? That they're talking. I mean, some business might be promoting that. As a matter of fact, have you had those conversations? And can you give us an example of one?
Well, I know that there's Parisano offered some specials. It's in terms of drinks. They're extending their happy hour throughout the government shutdown. You can come and get $5 for some drinks, and some other particulars significantly discounted. There's a business, I forget what it is, but you get a free pulled pork sandwich if you show them your government ID. There's a location here in the district that's doing that, but there's also one in Virginia doing that. And that's just an example of people offering discounts. Now, personally, I would like to go to the Giant or Safeway and they give me a discount on groceries and things like that. They're not in that ballpark, Denise. But I would suggest just ask.
Yeah, I would. I want to bring Richard on too at this time, because I'm going to go back to the story that you all did together. But because he's in Prince George's County, good afternoon, Richard.
How are you? Good afternoon. Thank you for the kind introduction.
Oh, well, it's deserved. But I know that you have also been covering the work of the county executive and some of the county council members who are looking at resources and ways in which they can support federal government employees who've been, I mean, it's not only the furlough right now, it's just, everything from losing businesses in the county, for people, what do you call it? Foreclosures, or on increase. It's a whole bunch that's going on when they started to reduce, which was Trump's plan from the very beginning, DOGE, to reduce government, period. So what's happening in the county?
So some of the things that are being done to help protect, help reinforce federal workers are, the state of Maryland is offering a $700 emergency loan for families that need it. The county is amalgamating food bank resources and other resources to make them as easily accessible as possible. And to go back to previous shutdowns, probably one of the next steps that will be implemented will be some kind of fare reduction or free fare for government workers. I think that happened in the 2019 shutdown.
When you say fare, are you talking about Metro or what?
Yeah, for Metro, yeah. Okay. But to give credence to everything you're saying, this is a storm of circumstances where the cut in the jobs causes people to not be able to pay mortgages, causes people to not be able to go to businesses, causes businesses to close, and adds a negative cycle that is very, very difficult to address in the long term. And what our leaders are doing now is offering resources as best as they can to assist people in this moment.
Go back to that $700 because that stuck with me. Who qualifies for that? You said for families, but who qualifies for that support? And where is it coming from? And I know I'm asking you a lot, but where would folks go to get that if they need it?
Luckily, the Google machine is fast. So the federal shutdown loan program offers a zero interest $700 loan to applicants who are residents of the state of Maryland, are current federal employees, are designated as accepted employees who must work through the shutdown without pay. And it has to be repaid within 45 days of the shutdown. So that's even more specific, just for people who are being made to go to work, who are having to add gas, pay for food, et cetera, for no pay now. We must also add that Russell Vogt and the president are outright saying they do not want to give back pay, that they want to go against the law requiring back pay. So that is another danger that needs to be kept aware for people. I'm
sure when the legislators who came up with that $700 loan, wow, is Pepsi paying for this show? I just learned something new. But at any rate, with that $700 loan that has to be paid back within 45 days, but yet if Trump's plan materializes and you're not going to get back pay, now you have a loan.
Right.
That doesn't sound as attractive as it did at first.
Oh, no. But I'll again say that these are people dealing with an incredible, difficult set of circumstances. And I think that much of the advice our leaders should be offering, much like what James and I did last week, is offering financial advice for people to, I'll just say, make the best decisions amid extenuating circumstances. If the governor, for example, had come out and said, the president plans to fire everybody, we should start saving our money in November, I think that would have had impact.
Right. I think you're correct about that. And, normally, I think it's May that is Financial Literacy Month, but the Washington Informer always picks its time. I don't know why. Maybe because we're about to head into the holiday season, and this is a time when people spend a lot of money. But this is when we do our financial literacy issue. And I mentioned the article that you all talked about, and I'm putting this here because it is in this week's issue of the Washington Informer. And there are some great stories in here, you all, for the viewers that may be helpful and provide information on how to get through these difficult times. I don't know if you all know, there's this conversation, that many of us in the Black community have been having. And I don't know if you all have talked to folks about the 300,000 Black women who have lost jobs as a result of this administration. I just keep hearing the number. Have you talked with anyone, or is there anyone that kind of gives you, more background or support for that statistic?
James, let me field this one. When I was in college at UMBC, I was in the McNair program with a young woman named, her name is Anna Gifty, Gifty. She wrote a book called The Double Tax about Black women's double burdens in the workforce. And she's talked widely about that stat. Black women's unemployment now is around 8%, if not higher than 8%. The president has taken a deliberate jobs program to benefit his base, to punish his opponents. And this is part of that. We can go even further to say that the president is, in effect, trying to resegregate the national workforce, just like Woodrow Wilson did.
Wow. Now that is, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not doubting that 300,000. I would just want to say that, I didn't bring that up to doubt that number. And I'm going to assume that number may be growing, which we know the impact that's having on, families and the community and what have you. But it was interesting. I drove past, I wish I had the photograph, drove past the Department of Labor yesterday. And out front is a big flag of a huge American flag and a huge photo of your dear President Trump. And I'm trying to remember what other presidential photograph was it Roosevelt?
Roosevelt first 250 days.
Yes, yes, President Roosevelt. Thank you, Jaman. Huge on the side of the building. You can see it a mile away. So we're even branding government buildings now as we let people know, what the agenda is and how it's going to impact us. What else is happening in the county or in the district, Richard or James, that you know of that we think we need to let our viewers know about? James?
Well, this is a very interesting period that we're entering into, because now that we've built this huge stadium has been approved for the Washington Commanders. Many people are getting excited saying Commanders football. But the question is now seeping as I talk to people, is that how is this going to benefit businesses in the district? For example, will CBEs, which is certified business enterprises, many of them who are black owned or owned by people of color, will they have access to the contracts in terms of building that huge stadium? But more importantly, along with that, the infrastructure around that, as well as the businesses that will be created as a result of that. And so the question is that will these CBEs have a chance to participate? Those particular CBEs, I'm not talking about Clark Construction and Douglas Development. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about small and minority businesses have a chance to compete for those contracts and get those contracts in terms of that huge stadium, which will be here in 2030. And 2030 is coming very, very quickly.
And what about James? When Trump came into office, one of the things that he wanted to see was more of these government workers, the ones that are left, coming back into these jobs. You mentioned it earlier in downtown DC. However, if you go into the city, which into downtown DC, where I was yesterday, looking out of one window into windows across from the building where I was situated, I'm still seeing empty floors.
Oh, yes.
So is the mayor or the Department of Economic Development or any of those agencies talked about whether we have actually, we see it in traffic. We definitely see it in traffic, but are we seeing it on the streets and in the offices of downtown DC? And what is the city talking about as it relates
That's
to?
a very astute observation that you made in terms of the vacancies, the office vacancies in downtown Washington. I don't have the exact figure, but it is quite high compared to other metropolitan areas, given the business activity that takes place in the District of Columbia. And that's not a good sign. As a matter of fact, the CFO predicts that before the end of the year, which is not too far, the city itself will enter into a moderate recession. So what does that mean? That means that businesses are not doing as well as Mr. Trump would have you to believe, even though he brought all of these National Guards people here and now says the district is safe. The district has always been safe, relatively speaking. But the point is that we're about to enter this recession as a city. The office vacancies are high. They're getting high, and they're going to get higher because of the cost of actually locating in downtown Washington. You had Garen Price, the president and CEO of the downtown bid, and he's fighting, I won't say fighting, but he's working with the mayor and Nina Albert, who is the deputy mayor of planning and economic development, to try to get businesses to come to downtown DC, because as Mayor Bowser has consistently said, when you build up DC, downtown DC, the rest of the city follows. So this is what's happening with that. I'm glad you make that observation, because it's still, the office vacancy rate is really, really not good in that particular sector.
Richard, were you going to jump in?
Yeah. On the recession topic, something to look at I would say it's concerning, but also fascinating. There was a report, I think it was like Business Insider in the past couple of weeks. There are 13 states that are actually growing right now. There's another, the remaining states are either shrinking, like 22 states their economies are worsening, and about the remainder are staying flat. But with the president's asymmetrical policies, for example, moving the FBI office from Virginia to Alabama, relocating people from here to the Midwest, et cetera, it is not only punishing us and making those other places better, but it is literally creating a reality where some people are going to say we're doing better than we've been doing in 40 years or so, simply because the president moved a bunch of people there to now buy food, and there's now sales tax and stuff like that. So in our area, we are getting it by far the worst. Maryland, DC, Virginia, by far the worst. But there will be people in other parts of the country saying, we're seeing new investment, we're seeing new businesses open, and that's not new good policies. That's just a realignment of our fiscal investments.
You know, it's interesting. I'm going to bring Jada Ingleton in now too, as well, to talk about, you know, some of the things that she's reported on and folks that she's talked to. Hey, Jada, welcome. And Sam's here. Okay, so anyway, we're gonna start with and let's bring Sam on. I want to bring Sam PK Collins on as well. Jada, what's the word on the street that you are bringing to us today?
Well, hi, good afternoon, everybody. Definitely a lot of community collaborations going on around what we're seeing, you know, to Richard and James's point. It's definitely a domino effect with this federal shutdown. And I think that's becoming more and more apparent every day. And so we're seeing a lot of initiative being taken from the business sector to education, and specifically what one thing that I'm going to highlight today is philanthropic efforts. A lot of organizations, the Greater Washington Community Foundation has been working with local leaders and legislators to try and, you know, relieve some of the tension that people are seeing now and going to start seeing more of if the shutdown persists. So basically the word on the street is it's all hands on deck. Of course, there's a lot of uncertainty of what's to come and when exactly certain things will eliminate, while certain things already started as soon as the clock struck 12 on the 30th/October 1st. So it's a lot going on, but a lot of people are prepared for the fight.
And Sam, welcome. Glad to see you there. What's the word on the street? Looks like you might be frozen on the street, but at any rate, gonna jump out and come back. So because Sam's piece on early childhood educators, I mean, what this means for families who won't even be able to continue with childcare, right? Because they can't afford it. Childcare is expensive in the DMV, and so I'm not sure how that's working with furloughed workers. Jada, you might want to talk a little bit about that, since you probably helped to edit Sam's story.
Well, mainly, I mean, I'll definitely let Sam speak more to it as the person who was on the street with it. But I mean, to that point of just people not knowing when, I think what is the most important thing to highlight is it's kind of like this trickle effect of who's getting money and who's allowed to spend money. And what we're seeing is, particularly within daycares, a lot of daycares don't know what's going to happen, if their doors will still be open, if they'll be getting their government funding or additional funding that helps them continue their services. So we're definitely seeing a lot of frustration among parents, frustration among the youth, which Sam will speak to because he also included a lot of youth insight in his piece as well. But just in general, just not knowing what's coming next. And I think one thing that I personally will be highlighting in an upcoming piece about the shutdown is healthcare. At the heart of the shutdown was kind of a debate on healthcare with, the Obamacare subsidies and all that. And one of the things that immediately was eliminated was telehealth services. And so a lot of people now have to deal with the realities of that, where, okay, it's one thing when you're just talking about, you know, money being allocated. It's another thing when you're talking about how it affects people's access. Telehealth is not just, of course, it was widespread during the pandemic, but people use telehealth for many reasons beyond there was a pandemic and the things were shut down and we couldn't be within more or less than 6 feet of each other. So to have things like that go out the window silently, a part of this shutdown, is a big cost to a lot of people.
And something that you're going to be focusing on?
Yes, so I have a piece that I'm working on the impact and the intersections of the shutdown with healthcare, and as well as the philanthropic community. So I had the pleasure of speaking with some representatives of Care First, who just kind of talked about there's a lot of focus. You know, we already have kind of a little bit of a health and equity issue, particularly in wards 2 and in wards 8. So it's kind of like seeing how, okay, something that's already was a problem before is in bigger problem now that we don't have access to certain things, now that the government isn't supplying or able to supply certain things. So we'll definitely have more information on that as well in the coming week.
Wonderful. And Richard, I'm gonna come back to you because you know, like we said, there's so much happening or impacting the residents of Prince George's County. Your governor is not, you know, mincing his words when he talks about the decisions that this administration's making and how it's impacting, I mean, just folks in general, but particularly the residents of the state of Maryland. You know, folks are wondering, you know, if this is pre-presidential run conversation, or, you know, if he's, and I know he's sincere, you know, in his feelings or his opinions about what's going on because it's real. But what's your take?
I'll take it 2 different directions. Earlier this year, people were rumoring that Governor Moore was going to run for president. Most recent statements from him were that he's not planning to, but he said that after he traveled to both South Carolina and Michigan, 2 states that are pivotal to the early Democratic presidential calendar. But I think a lot of what he's saying and doing is in the hopes of making congressional Democratic leadership more pressed to act. The following statement is a personal opinion. I think that Schumer allowing this shutdown while not allowing the previous shutdown is putting a lot of people's jobs at risk, and there's not really any upside, in my opinion. Right now, the courts that have been holding Trump accountable, they remain closed. The military people are going unpaid. I think WIC is going to close in a few days. While people might overwhelmingly blame Republicans for the shutdown, Maryland, D.C., and Virginia, and especially Black communities here, are the ones that will suffer the most if Russell Vogt does what he's trying to do and what he plans to do, and the shutdown makes that easier to do. Does that mean that caving on healthcare is acceptable? It does not. But it says that the circumstances are really, really bad. I wanted to add one last point to what Jada said. What are the Democrats fighting for in Congress? The healthcare subsidies. If these healthcare subsidies go away, a family that makes about $90,000 a year is going to have their healthcare costs triple. And you will have middle-class families eating Spam and riding the bus if the healthcare subsidies are gone.
Well, that goes back to businesses, James, and I don't know if you've had a chance to talk to businesses who are providing, you know, healthcare for their employees who are going to be impacted by that as well. What does that mean, or are they talking about, you know, what happens going forward in order to provide, you know, healthcare for their employees?
That's a good point, and Richard brought out a ticking time bomb. Particularly for many small businesses. Small businesses are struggling in terms of providing health care for their employees, even in a jurisdiction like the District or Maryland that are very, very friendly toward Obamacare. Healthcare costs are increasing, and that goes into the bottom line of small businesses. If this proposal is not righted as Richard is talking about, what's going to happen is that many small businesses are just going to have to drop offering their employees health care. And that's not going to be good in terms of retaining marketable employees. and that's going to affect the health of the employees in terms of whether they're able to function or not. And the question is, if that happens, will these jurisdictions, let's say the DC or the state of Maryland, will they provide tax incentives in order to help small businesses keep the health care? And I'm talking about tax incentives, I'm talking about tax credits, things like that. That's an open question, considering we're heading into a recession in DC, not only as a city, but maybe even as a country. So small businesses are really watching this very, very closely.
So for those of you all who may be watching us right now live, and we want to thank you for watching us and being a part of our Let's Talk Live community. We welcome any questions that you all may have. Just put them in the chat, because even if our reporters don't have the answers to those questions, we certainly will use those as directions for where we need to go in the coverage of issues that we think are most important to you. Because we're out here trying to get answers to questions that you all have. And so we can't make up questions, but we talk to you. And so we certainly want you to add your questions in the comment section and let us roll with them. James, I also wanted to, in the District of Columbia, we talked to or heard from at the chamber event that there's going to be a program for people who might be on the verge of losing their Medicaid. The district wants to make sure that, local residents don't miss a beat with regard to that. And I don't know if you know anything about that conversation or what the plan is.
Let me just say that the city had to, because of the big ugly bill, I'll call it the big ugly bill, the district had to cut back its coverage of Medicaid recipients here in the city, the district government. And as a result, the Bowser administration had to drop thousands of people who would normally get Medicaid from the Medicaid rolls. And there was a hue and cry about it from our shadow representative, Oye, to even Christina Henderson, who chairs the committee of the DC Council on Health. And so they've come up with a way of creating a program through DC Health Link, which is sort of like the health care facilitator here in district of the health insurance for people who have been dropped to continue to get Medicaid. That's a solution. Whether that's a long-term solution, Denise, I don't know, but that's a solution. And so that's where we are in terms of Medicaid. Those folks can be covered, but they have to sign up. They have to go through the process of getting to the Medicaid, whereas they didn't have to do that previously.
And I'll just jump in here if I can, Miss Denise.
Yeah, Jada.
A big thing that's important to know is, especially when we're talking about federal workers, these attacks and struggles did not start on October 1st. They started in January. So a lot of organizations and things that are happening right now, and to that point, the Medicaid, people have been talking about and fighting for Medicaid protections well before this shutdown. And right now, it just seems like almost everything's kind of just heating up. The heat is being turned up. And that's why I think the most important thing, in addition to leaning on, community collaboration throughout the DMV, really, but since we're talking about DC, the district, it's also just educating yourself on what your resources are, what your options are for your specific scenario. Of course, we have, for James's section, they're encouraging small businesses to really lean in on their local chamber of commerce and find out different resources that offer free consulting, that might offer some sort of, financial relief plans, whether that's something that even Governor Westmore has been calling on utility companies and more, and, what are they? Landlords. I forgot the name, but calling on utility companies and landlords to extend and have some grace with federal workers and with, homeowners, because this is something that is out of our control, but we still don't know how much we can do. So I just wanted to also, kind of highlight the value of knowing that research is a big part of figuring out how people can, kind of stay not only uplifted, but also still support themselves and their families in this time. And there's also some more resources I can plug in, but I'll spare a long-winded response.
Richard, anything else that you've been noticing, or what? And I'm going to move forward in a few minutes, but with regards to, like Jada was saying, with landlords, just the places where people are going to need help. What do you?
I'm gonna take a weird angle that is directly related. The data center fight in the county. How is that related? We are losing lots of local revenue from people retiring, from people being laid off, from the end of federal contracts, etc. The county does not really have a means of printing money. Our county economy has been tied at the hip with the federal government and federal government contracts. We don't have other local industry. So the likelihood of a data center, if not, oh, my bad. Thank you, Jamon. Of having a data center, if not multiple data centers in the county, I think is increasing because the need for some sort of revenue stream is more important when it's being cut off.
Yeah, I know that's a hot topic. That's going to be a hot topic, continue to be a hot topic in Prince George's. And just knowing what's happening in the region with regards to these data centers, Loudoun County, Virginia, which I think is one of the largest collection of data centers in the country. And so, Prince George's is probably a little wary of what's going to come that way. But then, they claim it's going to create jobs. Is that correct, Richard?
There are some jobs made in building a data center, but you can run a data center with like 12 to 20 people once it's made. They don't really make that many jobs in the long term. Mm-hmm. The main attraction is the long-term revenue from the site, but you have to weigh that revenue with the pollution, with the water consumption, with the energy consumption, with giving everybody higher energy bills, etc. How the county is exactly weighing those concerns will be seen through the Qualified Data Center Task Force, which met on Wednesday.
So the county executive celebrated her first 100 days in Prince George's County. The other, was it last week?
Like last Saturday, I think.
Yeah, Richard. So what does she tout as her accomplishments in the first 100 days?
One thing that she touted, and he was on the stage, was Colin Kaepernick, quarterback for the 49ers, well known for standing up for police brutality. He is doing a AI-based startup with the school system called Lumi. That's one part of it. Another thing that they're doing, or that she touted, is a relationship with the Board of Education chair, or not the Board of Education chair, the new superintendent of education, and their working relationship. She's touted their cleanup efforts they're employing across the county of Project Elevate in order to beautify, get rid of trash and debris around the county. And then finally is her making it easier for small businesses in order to get their permitting. I think as businesses under 5,000 square feet, she's eased the process. So those are a few things that she has been able to do through her strong relationship with County Council Chair Ed Burrows, Board of Education Superintendent, Board of Education Chair Brandon Jackson, and several others that are in local leadership.
Wonderful. And James, on the district side, Mayor Bowser still continues to be in this love-hate relationship with district residents. I mean, some love her for, just the hard work that she's doing, standing up to the president, keeping the city running, trying to protect, district workers, trying to create housing, looking out for the homeless. I could go on. And some hate her for the same reasons, So, there's a lot of talk about whether not only will Congresswoman Norton make it back to her seat in the Congress, but will Bowser run again? I know she just ran and won, and ran, I believe, unopposed. Did she run unopposed this time? Did she run unopposed this last time?
Yeah, Robert White ran against him.
Robert White. Okay, I can't really hear you so well. That's right. Okay, so what does it look like? Right now, she's got a lot of unfinished business, but what's the word on the street?
Well, a lot of
people are startled by the fact that she hasn't announced her plans yet. There was talk that she was going to do this in June. That she was
we're losing you, James. So
yeah,
That she was going to run in
okay, here we go.
she was going to announce in June. She did not. And now people are wondering what is going on here. Now, I've had sources tell me, well, she's eventually going to run and she's going to run and da, 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 da. And I can't guess to say that she is. My guess is that she is going to run. I've heard of Janice Lewis George is very, 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 very interested in running against her. But to answer your question is that my strong feeling is that she will run for a fourth term. And my sources have told me that this will be her final term.
You know, she's had some great people who stood by her in the administration for many years. Beverly Perry now has announced her, I don't know if it's retirement or resignation. She's going to now go on and back to what she's always done, which is lobbying. And there's some others in the administration that are stepping away. Do you have for various reasons? I don't know what those reasons are, either new opportunities or new opportunities. Who are some of those folks, James?
Well, you talked about Beverly Perry. I love it when this happens, not just with Bowser, but even with presidential administrations, because I really study this stuff. These government jobs are very demanding. They're demanding on your time. They're demanding on your family. They're demanding to do, period. And there comes a time when you say, okay, I've done enough. I want to go out and make some money. I think that's the situation with Beverly Perry. Beverly Perry was not pushed out. She just decided to opt out and go in a different direction. And that's what you do in these government jobs. I am keeping an eye on people like Nina Albert. I'm keeping an eye on some others to see what they're going to do. I haven't heard any concrete evidence of anybody except Beverly Perry moving on, but there is talk.
Would you happen to know, James, whether the city ever got that $100 billion that Trump or the Congress took away, and we with our budget? What's the status? What's the status of that?
We never got that money.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So, folks, we are kind of near the end. I was really hoping we would get Sam on here to kind of fire us up with some of the stuff that's happening in the council, on the DC City Council, as well as within the schools. But I want to take this last moment, if I can, for you to do kind of what you did already a few minutes ago, Jada. And that is to tell our viewers what they can expect to see, what kind of coverage they can expect to see from you all in the next, let's say, 2 weeks to 30 days. What are you focusing on? And Jada, you told us a little bit. You talked about, the telehealth was one topic. But is there something else that you would like to share with our viewers?
Well, I think I'd be remiss today is World Mental Health Day, October 10th. And so shout out, of course, to our edition that Ms. Denise showed earlier. While we're keeping a tight pulse on federal shutdown, we're also keeping a tight pulse on things that are affected as a part of it. So I will say that with that said, mental health is a big uptick of conversation and resources that people, particularly federal workers, are apparently looking to get more access to at this time. So we'll definitely be keeping a pulse on, different organizations and resources that are popping out that can assist families and organizations alike, specifically pertaining to healthcare, like I mentioned, philanthropic efforts that are going on. Like I said, there's a lot of coalitions building, and I think that's kind of the biggest thing that's going to be needed in order to help people keep their head afloat while we figure out what's going on in the district and around the country. So definitely be tuned in for some more coverage of the shutdown as it pertains to healthcare services, what you may lose, what you have lost, and what is, as of right now, supposed to be protected.
Wonderful. Okay, Richard, what you got?
So as we're doing this Zoom, I believe Rob Roberts is getting photographs of a healthcare town hall discussion with Congressman Ivey talking about the ACA subsidies. What am I going to be focusing on in the coming weeks the closing of the Jessup prison by Governor Moore, a lot of updates related to what Marylanders and Prince George's County political leaders are doing in response to the shutdown, updates on the data centers, and of course, business updates, business openings, closings, and deals in the Prince George's County region.
All right. And James, to you.
Well, as you know, the 30th anniversary of the Million Man March is coming up, and I will be covering that. And I will also be covering the accompanying Unifest that will take place. We're going to be focusing on some of the activities in terms of the businesses here in DC, in terms of what they're doing. A gentleman by the name of Andre Witt, who is the Chief Operating Officer for the Southwest Bid. There will be a profile of him and his activities coming up. But basically, I'm staying on top of the business and what is going on in business, because there is plenty of things going on in business, and it's a ball of wax.
That, to say the least, So I really want to thank you guys. You all work so hard. You really do. And I, here at the Washington Informer, I appreciate what you do. I hope that the viewers who have been following the Washington Informer and following your work really appreciate what you're doing. But also feel free to reach out to any of these individuals, folks, if you're watching, because if there's a story that you have to tell, send it to us. Send it to news, NEWS, at WashingtonInformer.com. We want to hear from you. And we especially want to hear those of you all who might want to who have some testimonials about how you are surviving not only the government shutdown, but as Jada talked about earlier, what's been happening since January with the local workforce, how it's affecting your family, your jobs, your children, education, everything. If there's something that you think we need to know and need to share, please reach out to us at news@WashingtonInformer.com. I want to thank the three of you for being here. Hopefully we'll get Sam on the next time we meet. We will be doing these reporters roundtables periodically. Actually, we'll be doing it again next month. And so your ideas and recommendations will certainly help to shape our conversation. So until then, you all have a great weekend. It is Indigenous Peoples Day on Monday, October the 13th. And so we do want to recognize the folks who also lived and worked and helped to make this city in which we live what it is because of what their contributions, and in Prince George's County of Virginia. So we want to acknowledge them. And it's also one of the last days for the Banned Book Week event. We're planning to do a partnership with one of our local bookstores, and we're going to give you some details about that, because one of the things that we're going to do is suggest that every household have at least 20 of the banned books in your library. So we look forward to providing you with that list. I'm having brain freeze for a minute, but we will be working with a bookstore to put that list together. And we hope to offer a viewer what we call a banned book basket of those 20 books. So stay tuned for that as well. And also, if you haven't, make sure you go online to WashingtonInformer.com. I don't think the voting stage is over yet, but if it's not, go ahead and vote for the best of the DMV. That activity is still going on as well. So with that, I'm going to bid you all farewell. I know you've got work to do, and have a great, great weekend.
Thank you, Miss Denise.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
All right. Have a good one. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.